In the last video, we looked at how we annotate for style. So for this one, what we're going to do is take a look at the information that we highlighted and start to find a focus for it, and then look at how we create a good solid thesis for it. So I took the highlights and notes that I made and then just kind of compiled them into a list. And what we're going to do is we're going to look over the observations, and then we're going to start to kind of connect them together and look at how they might focus together. There's a lot of stuff in that article, but we're not going to look at every single little thing. What we're going to do is we're going to pick out the things that really stood out to us, and then we're going to focus on that and center in on how that all works together. So one of the things that I will kind of mention is what we're doing here is kind of two things. One, we are specifically identifying the rhetorical strategies that are being used, because that is a part of the writing prompt, but then we're also connecting them to the meaning and the purpose of the overall writing. So that's where some of the commentary stuff comes in. So, my first observation is that she establishes the ethos of a caring mother. So you'll note there that I've identified the rhetorical strategy there, but then it's she also reminds her audience of her expertise in the subject, which is another type of ethos. So her expertise in the subject of how culture influences girls' self-esteem and identity. So we've got two kind of ethos appeals there. Then down here we've got the mother-daughter relationship, which is the pathos appeal to the audience's emotions there. She uses humor to suggest that she knows she might be overreacting and to question herself. So humor there would be a specific type of tone, and that's a strategy being used, again, to what purpose? It's to help show that she might be overreacting, and to kind of almost that counter argument of questioning herself. Here we've got appeals to logos, so that's our third rhetorical appeal. So we've got solid factual evidence to support her reasonings. And then another strategy that we've identified, rhetorical questions. And then again, to look at kind of establishing the purpose, why use rhetorical questions? Because it draws in the audience to her thought processes. Also used at the end of the excerpt to raise a counter argument. And then also connecting that to that humorous tone, because some of them do connect to that humorous tone there. And then finally, she incorporates the language of princess culture. We noted some of the language choices there with lively phrasing, metaphors, and allusions. So what we're doing there is again, we're kind of centering all of our ideas, and we're starting to see an overall kind of focus of all of this, that all of these different things are really working together to support that main kind of purpose of the princess culture influencing young girls. Now we're ready to put a thesis statement together. So before you put the thesis statement together, what you've got to remember is that you are answering the prompt, so your thesis statement should connect directly to the purpose that the prompt gives you, and it should include everything that is in the prompt. So if we went back, there are kind of two parts to the prompt. One is talking about the rhetorical strategies that the author uses, but then it also talks about how it's used to achieve her purpose. So three keys that we got to keep in mind is what's the main purpose of the writing, two, what are the rhetorical strategies being used, and three, how do they help achieve the overall purpose, which would then connect back to that main purpose there. So our thesis statement should include kind of all three of those ideas. So I came up with, there's a couple examples of some weak thesis statements that people might come up with, but then there's a good working thesis here at the end. So the first one there, a weak thesis statement In What's Wrong with Cinderella, Peggy Ornstein questions the effect of what she calls the princess culture on young girls. Now, this might sound like a really good thesis initially, and it is accurate. It is true to the purpose of the writing, but it doesn't incorporate everything that is described in the prompt. So she does question the effect of princess culture in the writing. That much is true. So this part right here is definitely true in the sense of accuracy to the writing, but what it's missing is it doesn't identify the purpose or mention any of the rhetorical strategies being used. All it does is essentially summarize the article. So we would have to add in the rhetorical strategy part of that. Now, the next thesis, again, using the title, using the author, in What's Wrong with Cinderella, Peggy Ornstein questions the effect of what she calls the princess culture on young girls. Again, we've got a good, accurate statement. She does establish the idea of the princess culture. So, the effect of what she calls princess culture on young girls, that is the main purpose. And then, or that's the main idea. And then questions the effect does connect to the purpose of the writing. But if you look, then we are missing still the rhetorical strategies part of it. So what we might want to do is take that, we might want to revise it and work a little bit more where we are actually adding in the rhetorical strategies part of it. So the working thesis that we've got here at the bottom, calling upon her experience as a mother and a writer, Peggy Ornstein pairs a wide range of facts and details with a sarcastic tone in order to suggest that the princess industry is having a negative effect on young girls' perception. So this is a good solid working thesis. So we've got here to suggest that it's having a negative effect on young girls. That's going to be connected back up here to main purpose and how they help achieve that purpose. And then we've also got the identification of the rhetorical strategy. So we've got experience as a mother and a writer, and then we've got a wide range of facts and details, and then we've got sarcastic tone. That's going to connect back to those. So what we can expect in the rest of that analysis is we can expect a breakdown of her experience as a mother, her experience as a writer, the logos, facts, and details used, as well as the sarcastic tone. So with that, we've got a good working thesis. Now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is putting together all of the support and then explaining how it shows this idea of the princess industry having a negative effect on young girls.